Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the 54th meeting of the 7th Council Municipality of South Dundas, and I do appreciate council and staff cooperating in this special meeting. I felt after this weekend that we as council and we as staff have to come up with a plan for the Morrisburg waterfront for sure. It's, I know we had given staff direction and they had faithfully obeyed that direction. However, it seems that it's gotten beyond what any of us imagined would happen down there. I thought, it was always had some semblance of order and people were very respectful of our waterfront. But the last 2 weekends, especially the last one, demonstrated that we need to come up with some control measures there that make sense. So before we go on, any disclosure of community interest, Gerald, you should bear up with Steve this morning. Feeling that all council members are here, so I won't call for a roll call. So with that, I'm gonna first of all, we can go around council table, but I'm not expecting your plan right now. Maybe just some general comments on what you feel has happened in the last little while. And I know we weren't all on the same page when both these motions we dealt with were on, and that's just part of being on council and being respectful of everybody's thoughts and ideas. So we'll do that first, just go around the table, and then staff have some ideas to work on, and we'll throw our bunch into the center, and then hopefully we can come up with something that we can work with in A, the short term, and B, the long term. And there's no disrespect to the Morrisburg Waterfront Committee. They worked hard too, but this is an issue that we as council need to take charge of. We can't just let this go another for any length of time. They know there's need for parking. We can't make parking overnight, but we need to control what's down there. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor Breiveld. Absolutely agree with your opening statements. I spent some time actually down there with Nicole and Justin on Saturday at various times through the day. I think it's above and beyond our conversation. I think that I spoke to quite a few tourists that were coming down. The closure of Mooney's Bay in Ottawa was one of the things, and their Google search that led them to Morrisburg and Iroquois because it said both beaches were open on Google. So Nicole made note of that. And we also do have an overwhelming amount of Quebec visitors. And lots of that has to do with the fact that there's limited access to beaches that they would normally go to. To your point, there was a lot of reckless behavior, just people disrespecting and leaving garbage and not maintaining social distancing. I counted 24 boat and trailer accommodations parked around the dockside area, and that's a huge amount. I've never seen that. And they take a big space when they park. So I'd like that to be addressed as well. I think to your point, it's a difficult conversation because absolutely something needs to be done. I would like a natural approach if we can when we talk about barriers, because we also want to look at how our waterfront looks. I think it would look awful if it was a construction zone. I think that COVID-19 is definitely playing a part in this. It's what got people to our waterfront, and I think long term, now that people have discovered our waterfront, I think that, again, to your point, coming up with a solution, I don't think this is a short-term conversation anymore. I think that lots of those folks will continue to visit our area once they've discovered it. I did pay attention to people that had emailed, contacted me through Facebook and social media comments. I think the public needs to know that not just anyone can ask for ID. there's a lot of thoughts that people want residents using the beach only, you have to have special authoritative powers in a public space to actually do that. So that's one of the things. And also, if we were to ask for payment, I think I put on the table as well that when people do pay a pass, there's certain expectations around them having access to a picnic table, the level of cleanliness of the washrooms, garbage facilities. They will leave, if they've paid to park or whatever, they're more than likely going to leave even more garbage than those people that have taken it away. So it's not just barricades, it's also some of the interworkings of the area. Thank you.
Councilor Lewis.
2 weeks ago on the weekend, I thought it was pretty bad in South Dundas. This weekend that just passed, it was right out of this world. People coming, going, driving where they shouldn't be driving. I literally seen a vehicle drive over a ball diamond infield, which I thought was very disrespectful. They're disrespectful to the bylaw enforcer. I witnessed that very clearly on Sunday when I seen one of the officers. I was upset, but it was done by a local, which should not be tolerated. I do believe that we have to do something for sure. At the state of our parkland now, I don't know if we got a rain, if our grass would even come back. It's in pretty bad shape, and the way vehicles rip up and down our grassland, it's not called for. So I think that we have to take real big measures to fix this problem. Thank you.
Councilor Mellon.
Thank you, Mayor Bob, Jeff. I guess first, the original intent was to try and open up the park for people with mobility issues, and hopefully we can still try and find a solution for that, mainly for our residents. But I mean, unless we're going to be an exclusive club, but, so that original intent, I think, gives a lot of credit to what we were trying to do. Unfortunately, I was there on Sunday. Not unfortunately, well, unfortunately, because my blood pressure just went through the roof. It was really disheartening to see our facilities, if you will, being abused and being taken advantage of the way they were. Whether the people were from South Dundas or outside of South Dundas, I don't really care. The fact of the matter is, our waterfront and where they were driving, where they were parking, and campers and tents and garbage, the whole bit. It was really disrespectful, I think, to what South Dundas stands for and what we were trying to do with our waterfront. And personally, and I think I can speak for quite a few people, when we did that master plan for the waterfront, the vision I thought of, and I said, I think a lot of people envisioned, what I saw Sunday was not it. That was not the vision we had encompassed for what we want our waterfront to look like, and our park to look like, and our walking trails. And it's time that we take back and give back to the people that walk and go out there with children and whatnot and families. It's time we take back our waterfront and try and come up with a solution that will work for our residents and those that use it and in the past have used it and will hopefully continue to use it in the future.
Good. Councilor Wells.
And again, I was down there Sunday. Actually, I drove from Long Sioux right up to Ivory Lee and checked every area and came back. This was a show, and I said right from the get-go, 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, that we had to make our green space for the kids, for picnics, no vehicles. And that's still my thought. But right now, like council here, we gotta, like everyone says, take it back. Do not a temporary solution, a permanent solution. That deputy mayor saying about making it look natural, like do the big stones, quarry stones along with there that people can't get in. Try to think of a temporary or permanent thing for handicapped people only with their place to get out to the waterfront. Other than that, I think we definitely need more signage. It's got to be there. Let people know. It was Sunday. I was there actually twice. In the afternoon, there was one boat, one trailer, one car out in front of Harlan Vino's in that whole parking lot, which is about, I would say, an acre-and-a-half parking lot there. We gotta put signs up there to let the public know that it's a municipal parking lot, not for the Legion and those few houses or maybe the apartment complex, because there's literally no one there. But we gotta come up with a plan, and personally, I think our taxpayers deserve a lot better. And as far as charging, I'm 100% to have a fee. Anywhere you go, there's fees to get in parks and that. On my trip when I went south, every park we went into, you had to pay to get into it. For your vehicle, your people, there was nothing free. And it should be here too that we start charging people. What was going on there this weekend is not tourism, because I can guarantee you 98% of the people that are there brought all their own stuff. So it's not helping us as far as community. They're getting access to our waterfront, which our taxpayers pay. So I'm all for it if we started charging parking fees and fees. And the deputy mayor saying we should be up to our standards anyways as far as bathrooms and that goes, whether we charge a fee or not. So if you come, you should be able to go in a clean bathroom. It should be cleaned on a regular basis whether we charge or not. The garbage issues, I seen out there, and I was talking to some of the staff, that the stuff that was left out there, and it wasn't left from local people. So just saying, we definitely have to do something, and we got to do it now.
Okay, well, thanks, council. Before I go on, I just want to reiterate that we're not ignoring Iroquois on its waterfront. However, yes, there were some challenges trying to keep people off the beach, but it was nothing like this. And I think there were some manageable issues that we can deal with from a staff and an emergency management point of view to start with. But this one's beyond the committee. This is something that council has to take charge of, and no disrespect to committee and staff. There are times when councils have to step up to the plate and do what their job is. So with that, I'm going to call on Danielle to present a staff plan. They worked on one. I think it's only fair that they give us what their thoughts are, and then we'll throw our thoughts in here, and then we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of commonalities in the end, because I look at what I did yesterday morning was just drive around and say what I would do, mainly on a temporary basis, because sometimes you just got to do that to do what you need to do. And I think, as I said, there's a lot of commonalities there. I know I like the idea of making things look pretty, but pretty takes time. Then we're gonna have ugly for a while. That's the way I would look at it. You know, it's just, you gotta do what you gotta do. Because they're gonna come this weekend. It's gonna be another scorcher, at least Saturday. Sunday they're talking rain, but we all know what rain's been doing lately. And I've talked to Councilor Mel and myself about rain. We're looking at some pretty stagnant looking crops out there. With that, Danielle, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So you'll see on the screen, Brendan shared with everyone. So this is a mock-up of what staff are considering for parking. at the waterfront. So the green, the light green, and I know it might be difficult to see the two different types of green, so I apologize, but the light green is existing parking that the municipality has access to. The orange is what the municipality is suggesting for trailer parking to address Deputy Mayor Gardner's concerns with the amount of trailers, because we do get a significant amount. The blue you'll see there is to address the accessibility of the waterfront, so those would all be recommended to be accessible parking spaces, as to Councilor Lewis's point. And the other items on this, so you'll see here this darker green, it's where the current ball diamond is. That's where, through discussions with the Morrisburg Waterfront Committee, they were considering putting their new parking lot. So those minutes will have to come back to council based on their discussion at the next council meeting, but that is, from my discussions with them, what they were thinking. And then the brown you'll see is where the ball diamond in the future that's currently would be mirrored. So I believe that was part of the original Morrisburg waterfront plan. So the yellow lines that you can see there are where the bollards that were previously approved will be placed. So those are coming in the next week or so, and those will be installed to ensure that people can still walk down the pathway and bike and rollerblade. It will just prohibit cars from driving down those areas. Things that aren't on this is we did reach out to some of our contractors, and we also reached out to the city of Cornwall. They are providing us boulders, so the large rocks that we discussed, they're providing them to us for free. So a contractor has given us a quote of $167 per what these are significantly large boulders, for them to load them from the Cornwall site, deliver them here, and install them. So it would be up to council with how many rocks that they would like to put in. I have proposed 75. We can lower that. So with 75 rocks, it's about $14,000. So if we wanted to increase or decrease from there, we could do that. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone has any questions about the plan. I tried to incorporate everyone's comments. So I'll take any questions.
No.
Oh, lots of hands. Oh, no, hands down. Taking a lot of grief over the weekend, so the mayor might have a little bit of standing here today, sorry. Thank you, Danielle. So that's her pile in it, and we're gonna go around the table now with our own piles, and I'm gonna start, because I think we're gonna see some similarities. And in the end, when we put all the similar things together and some other things, then I think we can come up with a fairly reasonable plan. So when I went around yesterday, I wrote down what I would do. And a lot of it is a lot of temporary, but some of it's still long-term thinking. So vehicles with trailers must park at Legion Arena. That's we have to come up with a solution for that. They take up so much space down at the front there that even if and it might be a challenge for some of them, but as Councilor Wells says and others, there's parking by the Legions and there's parking by the arena. Yes, they got to do the walk, and if we can't convince them to do that, then we do like big cities do, and we literally charge for parking. It's free here. And you'd be amazed what people will do for a free parking spot, because I would do it too. The accessible parking by Lions shelter, which has been mentioned already, is a good idea. The Lions built the shelter for seniors to sit underneath. Well, they need to park somewhere. Bollard on the pathway, which is already on its way. And then I got two options for past the dockside, which has been a sore point. I think that there's pros and cons to that. So option one was nothing. You basically put a barrier up the dockside, you don't go past it. However, there is an option of put something in there to slow traffic down, whether it's speed bump or some sort of narrow entrance. and then only use a limited space there. So they can only go in a certain parameter underneath the trees that are on one side of the laneway and the other side of the laneway. And then there's another set of trees, there's quite a bit of space, it would still work. You would enclose that, you can enclose it with stones if you wanna do the stone thing, if they're fairly accessible. The other thing I was gonna suggest is just concrete parking curbing, because you can't drive a car over it very easily. Big trucks could, but you would think, hopefully people would be somewhat respectful of that. That will still allow people to park in that area. However, you can't go up East End. It's only in and out there. Sets up some challenges, I know that, and there's still safety issues, so, but I think that's where some of us were leaning when we wanted to keep parking there, was figure something out there. But no access from the east. Then as you keep driving around, you need a barrier at Crookshank Way entrance to the ball diamonds, which has been, is wide open and people will see the path and the way they roll. The ditches along there are deep enough to persuade any average car from going through them. A truck would, so I'm not sure you want to put stones around everything to keep it there. And you still need access for staff to get into the wall diamond, so somehow you have to figure that one out too. You may have to put up a gateway locked the whole 9 yards so staff can get in and out. That's more long term. A bollard at Sir James Morris at the pathway where it joint starts, because they've been running up there. The parking lot that's there, we would remove the basketball nets. They're not sure why they're still there. And then put curbing around there or stones, so they can't, because literally they can drive from there and just keep on rolling. So they've got access to the grass. Make it a parking lot. It's reasonable. There's a middle entrance that needs to be barricaded. And then the ditch at the amphitheater transformer is rather shallow. A car could drive quite easily through that. You may have to figure out something there. Full curbing around the beach parking lot, or stones, like something to barricade it through. And then a boulder at the east end of the path entrance, because people have been driving there. And lots of signs. Signage is going to be key to start, because it's the education. I think there's, ways we can do this, either A, temporary, or B, permanent. Like, I'm glad someone has offered the stones. They still cost money, but so does curbing. So, doesn't matter what you're gonna use, everything costs money. And we do have some ability to move some stuff around, but some of those big rocks, it takes some good horsepower and good equipment to do it with. So that's my list. Deputy Mayor, what are you gonna throw on the table?
Oh, Mayor Biles, I really like your list.
Well, that's why I'm not trying to dominate this, but,
Nope.
And we were all concerned, but, as Councilor Wells said, and I was told yesterday by higher authority at home that I had to quit saying it, but it was an F show. It was just unbelievable. Yeah. And, we just couldn't you can't do this. I appreciate everything staff did on the weekend to try to control it, but you can only do so much.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to hire another 10 people and to keep people off. We're just gonna have to come up with solutions that A, make sense right away, and B, have some long-term effects. So, and as for the ball diamond in the parking lot there, that's some long-term solutions that we're gonna have to look at. I disagree, but we're not gonna do that tomorrow. And, by the time we get all that figured out, that's more next year. So I'm more looking, how are we gonna deal with July, August, and then drive on after that. Go ahead, sorry.
Thanks, Mayor Biles. I actually took note, because I don't want to waste people's time by repeating, but, the Legion parking.
It won't hurt to repeat what you said. That way, you will see, we may see a pattern that, if staff are taking notes, and that we can come up with.
Well,
it's like, we need like Eric here to put all the puts together, and then, we do our strat plan, and did such a good job.
The Legion, arena parking was definitely on my list. I don't know a marina where you don't have to park your boat away from where you docked it. So that, absolutely. I do really like your solution for the accessible parking. I love how people thought one barrier was gonna stop what we saw on the weekend, because in my mind, people, the way, the mentality of what was happening, they were driving anywhere. The majority of the cars that I saw actually were coming in near that the basketball parking lot and east of it. So they were just driving in. So I had thought, to your point, the boulders, super good idea. I'm thrilled Danielle found free ones. I had someone price them out, and they were $35 a ton or something like that. And in my mind, that would be a good addition. People will sit on them and all that fun stuff. So I think we should get as many boulders as possible. We definitely need to address the driving between near where the Crookshank, the amphitheater is and stuff like that. The majority of the cars that I saw were actually going like this and accessing both ways. So that's what I mean about the barrier, because they were just going around and driving anyway. The accessible parking, I think, would be absolutely brilliant. I think it serves our customers well, like our residents and outside visitors. I do think that, in my thought, with having people still being able to pull in, I like those rubber speed bumps, like the black ones, the foamy ones, and you could put probably 3 sets of them to go in there. I worry about reversing if we make that site still too small. So that's why you almost want people to be able to go in and be able to turn around, but go no further. Because if we put it too short and they reverse, that's going to be a problem with kids and stuff as well. So we'll just trade one problem for another problem if that site is too small. Signage will be huge, and in my mind, if we can come up with signs not just in the park, but also outside the park on the main routes as people come in, where we say something to the effect of, please follow beach parking lot signs or whatever. So you're introducing that concept early on before they actually hit the space, I think is really important. And we should probably mix in the littering signs and garbage signs and all that fun stuff. Long term, and I know I'm really comfortable with those boulders. I think I don't know how fast we can get them here, but I think that's a very good price. I think that would solve a huge amount of problems. I think we probably need close to 100. We were just a small area. We were Donnie and I were down there kind of hopping and jumping and trying to put, and you use them up fairly quick, especially if you're going to create just past the dock side a barrier in there. Future, I would recommend that we look at our student staffing and possibly give the bylaw department some police foundation students, Shannon and I talked about this, to assist, because there's education and then enforcement, and our enforcement people should be kind of the last result, not the first. You have that conversation and then somebody calls in, and I've had a lot of good success with enforcement students. And everything else, the speed, I don't know if we can, the speed bumps, we may even, if you get those full narrow ones, maybe put them to the access to all our parking spaces. Like, maybe that's what needs to happen, because we were seeing people whip by, and they're going in and they're turning around and they're really not conscious of the speed. So maybe, depending on the price, maybe they need to be, even at the beach, like people get the message right when they enter in that it's low speed, and those speed bumps might be anywhere. So I don't know if we can legally do that, but I do think though the parking will need to have additional parking. I don't think that's necessarily we're gonna have to figure out a way to put the cars somewhere for this weekend. If we're able to do boulders and stuff like that, I think what will happen is we'll push them out on the street, and then Lake Shore is going to become a dangerous area because people whip around that curve as well. So I don't know, I've been told that during certain events we've had parking in the Ball Diamonds, like the Antique Fest when Mike Tomenko ran it, that was their parking space. So I don't know, it's easy with the fencing to put signs up and make it, but that could also be a show as well, because if you don't really have any direction, you kind of go over. But those were my thoughts, so very similar to yours, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, no position that Councilor Lewis, then I'm going to Councilor Wells. That's my arc.
Okay.
I'll bounce back and forth, because you had the last go, and sometimes being the last go, you feel like you haven't got any say, so.
I feel like I'm not wanted.
That's right, so.
Thanks, Mayor Bible. I somewhat agree with you, Mayor, not to the full extent.
That's okay, that's why we're here. New ideas.
First, I think our green space should be green space. Anything east of that washroom, all the way down, no vehicles whatsoever. And the boulder thing, I really, really want. Boulders, you got to anticipate you need about 5 feet in between them, because your average vehicle is 7 feet wide or 6 feet wide. So it's easy just take a walking thing to do the math. Myself, I would put boulders right from that second diamond, right down through, right to the beach. I was down there today, and come across with the boulders right to the bike path on the east side of the amphitheater. So that closes that whole area, and have your 2 boulders there that you can't go down the bike path. On diamond number 1 that's existing there, I would have your rocks come from the fence right to the bike path, and just have a walking area, like a 5 foot where the road is now, that people can walk through there and keep that all green. So that shuts that whole area off. As far as the entranceway, I would recommend, years ago up the Iroquois Beach, they used to have gates halfway down. What I think we should do is have beach hours, that people, what they do, they race here at 5 o'clock in the morning, they get there, they get their spot. You have your gate set up that people can't get into the beaches, like nice gates, and you can make nice ones like stone and whatever to incorporate that. And the beaches, there's a tenant would go down at 8 o'clock, open the beach, and at 4 o'clock, everyone's out, the gates are locked. So that'll give, as far as like temporary thing, now we got the curbs up and stuff. As far as that new parking lot, I'm fully convinced we don't have to take that whole diamond and make a whole park. When I was on the waterfront committee, it was that wedge piece from the ball diamond that we were gonna make the new parking lot. Where you see the blue is to the east of where you drive up to the dock there, we were gonna make that angle park, and there was enough room there for 12 vehicles. If you just look to east of the blue there, people would come in and park on the angle, they could get out, and there'd be, your last one, there could be a curb or board, that last person get out, you walk out, you come down, and you start your bike path. That diamond down the road, there was talk that it was gonna be eliminated. As far as I see now, and even at the busiest, when I counted there's 29 cars, there were still only 2 cars in that parking lot at the Legion. That Legion parking lot can hold at least 75 vehicles, at least. Then you come up the road, you got the arena. So as far as making a whole brand new parking lot that size, I think is a waste of waterfront. I would like to see more trees incorporated in that myself. Because once you make a parking lot, you got a parking lot. And as far as the only other thing, the orange you were saying for boat trailers and stuff, I like the idea for ones that you just drive straight. That other orange to the west, I think should be turned to blue, that people can come and just park their vehicles. Because people, very seldom, someone's gonna go out and back in there anyways, because there's not enough room to where you bring your boat to come in there. People do access the thing, but I think the people along when you're coming around, the boats on the grass, disagree with that. That's green space for people. They can sit there, make them aware that the parking for boats and trailers, once that front section's full, you go up and use the other orange part there, which would be plenty. We've seen here, when we had the Bass Pro Terms in here, that they had that parking lot full, and the ones in there was ample parking for 50 boats or more. So as far as green space, I want green space. I like no parking there at all from the bathroom east. And as far as stones, maybe once that diamond's out, or even the walkway coming down, you could incorporate a handicap parking, that when you come down the end of Sir James, that you come out there and you make enough room for 10 to 15 vehicles. That gives seniors with mobile issues and the handicap, they have to have it, that they can park there and disperse to the trees to have their picnic, which is a short 40-yard walk. There's 3 or 4 big trees there now, and the rest of it is just with all the stone, which would look very beautiful. And to Deputy Mayor's there saying with sitting, it becomes sitting things, and you just do the whole thing. And it would take literally, if this company that's trucking them had a couple floats, and being so dry right now, as far as unloading them, we can take our rubber tire loader, we have the thumb, and you can just pick those up and you set them anywhere. And by doing that, first of it looks more natural, and if you ever want to, it's a matter of taking your machine and just moving them for whatever. You just thumb them, you pick them up and move them. That's, I think, would work, and then we would get our park back. So the gate system, the bollards at the bike paths, and keep everything else green, and it would beautify it. And you could probably get a parking lot put in where the Morrisburg Waterfront originally had that thing there, and it, I don't know, I would have to do the math on how many parking lots it would be. But literally, you get that done in a couple days. You go in there, hi-ho, take the granite and bring in the gravel. But at the beginning, I would start the stones right away and get our signage up right away at the things, no parking on the grass, so they know, and there's fines issued if you're parking on the grass. So, and this way, I believe within 2 weeks, we could have this a permanent solution that you won't see that anymore. There's no one's parking there, and hopefully the rain comes, and by the 1st of August, everything will be green and everyone can back to originally what that park was designed for. It wasn't designed for being a 50-acre parking lot.
Okay, Councilor Lewis.
Well, as you know, I live here in Morrisburg, and I know the waterfront like the back of my hand. From the beach to the first ball diamond, there is 9 entrances. If you take away the 2 entrances that are where the basketball nets are, and I'm like the mayor, I don't know what they're doing there, but that's here or there. And maybe put bowlers along that asphalt and make sure that you put the bollards along all the entranceways. Now, I believe at one time, they might be still there, I'm not sure on this, the big hardball diamond, there used to be 2 6x6 on each side of the driveway. So I think if we use those 6x6, put a hefty chain on it and a lock, that would be accessible for the municipality's vehicles. And any other time it would be locked. And I love the idea of putting the barriers where you have designed those barriers to be. But I think what I would do myself for handicap and disabled people, I would run the quarry stone along the fence line of the first ball diamond at the end, take it right out to the walking path. And what I would do is I'd mostly get a measurement of how wide a golf cart is, because I see a pile of golf carts coming up and down that path, and pedestrians literally have to get on the grass so the golf carts go through. I think if we're going to keep vehicles out of the green space, That includes golf carts. I don't like the idea of using the first ball diamond as a parking lot. Because eventually driving over the infields, I know that eventually that ball diamond will be gone, but if you drive vehicles over it, you're gonna pack it so hard that you won't be able to play ball on it. So I don't agree with using that ball diamond as a parking lot. I do agree with boat trailers and trucks or cars, vehicles. They should be parking at the Legion or the arena. Because whenever I was down there on Saturday late afternoon, people that was coming in off the road, they literally have to back up and go back out on the road and come in the other entrance, because boaters, whenever they have their boats on, they just pull wherever they want. If they want the whole parking lot, they just stop and get out and do whatever they want to do. So the boaters are really taking advantage of the people that just, the tourists that want to drive through. And that's pretty much my way of thinking, and I think my way of thinking is a lot like everybody else sitting at this table. So you gotta keep everybody off the green space. That's my piece.
No,
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Byfield. I gotta agree with, I think most of, what my colleagues were saying. I'm gonna resort back to my farming experiences. Once, it doesn't take much of a fence to keep the cows out of the corn. But if you don't have a good enough fence and they get there, you gotta build a damn good one. Because once they know it's there, they're gonna go for it. So we gotta make sure we got every little nook and corner covered as far as people getting in there. Sign the blazes out of it. I don't know what our bylaw, can we impose, fines for parking on the grass, or does that have to be, we can't, okay. Make it a hefty fine, and towed too, like, I mean, I don't like to sound like we're gonna come down heavy on tourists, but if they're gonna abuse our facilities, as far as I'm concerned, we fine them and we tow them, and they're out of there. That'll only happen 3 or 4 times, you won't have a problem, just like a speed trap. You get, the word will get out in a hurry, not to drive on our green space. We gotta make sure we have signage at the dock to direct the trailers and trucks and cars to the Legion parking lot, and with clear signage, they're not allowed to park there. The boulders, yes, to keep everybody off. The wheelchair accessible, that's that's that blue spot, right, Danielle, down in the bottom. And Lloyd, you said that, or Councilor Wells, you said there'd be about 12 there, maybe.
You could probably park 12 vehicles from the
I'm
dock
not,
up to the.
yeah, I'm not so sure I like the idea of letting the traffic go by the washroom down by the dockside. I drove around there Sunday and I drove around there this morning. What I would much sooner see, and that will help some with mobility issues, is a drop off and pickup area just either south of the dockside or just on the east side of the dockside. A roped off area, enclosed area, clearly signed that, people can drop off somebody with mobility issues. It's 5-minute parking, you can drop them off and then they can take their car out and park somewhere else. Now, that won't help the ones that will drive down and have mobility issues, but it may help some of the seniors or somebody, if somebody brings them up there. That's sort of what I was thinking, that we would, have an area for a drop off and pickup, right around by the dockside, but just 5-minute parking, they're in and out, and not to go by, that washroom, I guess. That could be between the washroom and the dockside, somewhere in there. You could have probably 2-3 spaces in there, fairly easily, I think. There's one spot east of, on Crookshank Way, east of, the parking lot that's there now by the Ball Diamond. There's an entranceway there now, it's a grassed area. I think we're gonna run into some areas, sometimes we're gonna run into parking issues, not enough parking. I would use that entranceway as an overflow parking, rope it off, if you will. It won't, just, I don't know if you need to put the stones there, but put some kind of barrier there so that, they can't drive back out into the infield. But that would be sort of an overflow parking. It would go from that entranceway over to west to where the paid parking lot is there now. It could be used as an overflow parking. That's sort of a short-term fix if we get into that situation, that we need that overflow parking, and signage is everything here. We gotta be able to direct the people, make sure the boulders are on there. I think Mayor Bygaus, you're right, the ditch along Crookshank, I think could stop most vehicles. There might be a few that'll try to do the Dukes of Hazzards and see if they can jump that ditch, but, if they get out in the infield, it's the police at that point, or I don't know, by law, we just call, find them and yank their, throw them on the hook and take them away. Do we need boulders all along Crookshank Way? Maybe, I don't know. We need boulders down by the beach to keep them out of there. Because trust me, they'll come out here on the weekend and they'll be just like a Jack Russell. They'll be wanting to they'll figure out any little corner they can get their vehicles into, and they'll go after it. So we're gonna have to come down pretty heavy, I think. The voters may not like going over to the Legion, but I'm sorry, that's gonna be the majority, that's gonna be what it'll have to be. And, I think what I'm hearing is right, nobody else has a marina parking that you can just, step out of your boat and into your truck and, so I think what we have is a good plan. I sort of thought about going in between the two ball diamonds, towards the beach. It would be a temporary thing, it might be roped off and have a wheelchair accessible parking lot there for seniors. Down towards the cart path. I don't think that's a long-term fix. Can we flip that, yeah, that way. I need to see farther west, if you will. Oh, the other way, yep. Yeah, right there where you can see the pathway coming off, by that one ball diamond. Yeah, there. There's an entranceway there. It has to be signed very, very clearly. Have them come in and have it wheelchair accessible only. They have to have a sticker or a license plate. Have them come down. There might be an area there that, on the grass, that would be, an area for a temporary fix until we have maybe a more long-term solution for wheelchair parking down there. But that was sort of an idea I had, whether that's feasible or not, or, should be. Unlike my colleagues, I like to keep the green space green, but we have a spot, I think, on Crookshanks that we could use for overflow. It'll be on the grass, it'll be between Crookshanks and the bike path, and that drop off and pickup zone by the dock side, just east of the dock side or just south of the dock side to, if somebody bringing somebody, they can drop them there and then, go park and then come back. That's, we may have enough, if we can get this all straightened out and we can get the boats and the trailers away, from the dock or by the dock, whether or not we have enough parking down there without, it'll be, we may very well, because like a boat and trailer takes up 2 spots, if not more. Or a truck and trailer, I should say, not boat and trailer. But, other than that, Mayor Bygaus, I think we're on the right path. We just gotta have the signage, we gotta have directional signage too, to direct people, and clear and specific signage for the trailers to make sure that they know they're not to park at the dock, and give them direction to where they can park. And, yeah. I think those are good ideas.
Okay, we'll go back around the table same way, so, anything else?
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention was, if we run short of boulders, I don't know what people's thoughts were of, increasing the depth of some of the ditches. Right, so instead of But if we see that long stretch of long Crookshank Way, if it, I like the look of the boulders around the perimeter, but if that doesn't seem feasible because it's too many, one of my suggestions would be to dig the ditch deeper.
Okay, a few things. As far as the parking, can I go up and point to this?
Sure.
Because right here, scroll that down a bit. Just bring it to the, okay, well, so right now, the Morrisburg Waterfront Committee has parking for here, to do this angle parking, all here. Like, the money's there, it's no cost to the municipality, it's like it's there. And keep coming down. So, in the parking from there, all this area is, there's money for all that parking. So right now, we probably have additional 15 and probably, let's say 25. So we have additional parking for 40 cars, which would relieve a lot. This here, because it is a boat launch, the orange, this part has to stay. This part here can be changed to the blue, but this part here, like, there's parking there for 8 or 9 or 10, then direct traffic away. Like, that's like someone's coming in to the wheat. If we say there's no parking there and a local comes in just go fishing for a couple hours, we can't expect him to go all the way to Legion. Like, there's parking there, so this would have to stay. You pull out in there. And this here, like when the boats come out, I know when I used to have my boat, I used to come over here by the grass, and it's called staging. You have to put your clamps back down on your boat, and same when you're bringing a boat in. Like, you have to put your bumpers out and do your back straps, put your latch on. Like, there's a thing you can do which you wouldn't start doing, especially if you had a trailer that wasn't a bunk trailer, it was a roll trailer. You can't do that all up in the parking lot at the Legion and back in. Your boat's gonna come off your trailer if you had a boat that had rollers on instead of a bunk. So we got, and that's going to yours, Councillor Lewis. Like, we gotta have a little staging area there, and hopefully people, I know when I used to boat, I used to do it quick. You get out, get your straps on, and you go, just because there's other people wanting to get in. But that additional parking there, the money's there, that can be, tell the waterfront committee, okay, we can get that started. And the rest is, like the stones, even if we, like, I wouldn't wanna put boulders along there. As far as digging the ditch deeper, which would work, it would definitely work over stones. But that's a nice shallow ditch where people, if they're walking along, like if they wanna get out and whatever, like, I think we're getting the stone for nothing, all we have to do is pay to truck them. And stone looks, like I was up to Athens too, I went up there, and they're parked all around the perimeter, they got nice big stones and it looks beautiful, that people can't assess the park. So if it's a matter of extra stones and that, the less, to your point, Deputy Mayor, the construction thing, like bollards and all that, that's a commercial fix and curbs and that. So if you can do it like in your parking lots, have your rubber there so people know it's your parking. But when it comes to even the walkways, you put 2 rocks and they become bollards, but they're just a natural bollard that you leave enough that you keep to Councillor Lewis there, you keep the golf carts out. And then there's signage there, no golf carts. Where we have your rocks and the bike path starts, just put a sign, no golf carts. Simple as that. And I think, like, we're all on the same page, just tweak things a little bit. Like the rocks and that are good, and get these parking lots going quick. I can't see why this whole thing couldn't be done in 2 weeks, as far as getting the rocks there and everything, because as long as you get the rocks there, it won't take long to place them. Like, either you can place them, myself, if I was placing them, I think it would look nicer on the north side of the bike path. So then you're instead of the south side, so people's walking down, it feels like they're protected too. Like if someone comes through, then if they want to take a thing, if you had them on the south side, it's just, it's, if someone's coming down, a vehicle comes quick, at least it gives people protection, right? So it's almost like a guardrail, but they're natural guardrail to protect that bike path. And did anyone see the picture of the little girl flying the kite with the vehicle 10 feet from her? Like, so we make this all a permanent thing, and with the rocks being on that side, and the rocks obviously being on the north side of the bike path going down where the, no, disregard that, I was thinking something else. But those rocks there, rocks across there, and the two new parking lots to start, I think we'll have everything somewhat under control. That's basically it, Mayor.
No, I think, we've all had good ideas, and a lot of us have a lot of things in common. I really don't think I have to add anymore. Thank you.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Councilor Wells got, he does have to a degree, I agree with his point, at the dock, an area that, people can get their boat ready to put in and secure it after they take it out. I just don't think that we can allow, to me, yes, I know it's gonna be an inconvenience, and some with boats, that just go in for a couple hours aren't gonna like maybe going over to the Legion parking lot, but it gets to the point of what do we allow, and, if we're gonna sign it, no boats, no trucks or trailers or cars or trailers, are we gonna say, no more than 2 hours if you're gonna leave your trailer through the week? To me, I think we need that staging area, but I don't think if I'm getting you right, Councilor Wells, that you think we could leave a few spots there for trailers for people that are going out for short. I still don't think we can, because it's gonna be hard to police. Somebody's gonna be in there, well, you let me there last week, now you're towing my vehicle because it was there for more, it's hard to police. It's gotta be sort of uniform as far as that parking, what you're gonna allow for trailers and trucks and trailers at the dock. But we need an area, yes, to definitely prepare to put the boat in and take the boat out, secure it down. But what I still think we need to make sure that the boats and trailers, or trailers and trucks, are directed to the Legion, even through the week, even if somebody's just going out for a couple hours. It's not, it's 300 yards maybe. We're not asking them, I know I can appreciate some of them maybe won't like it, but I mean, it's, we're working with a situation here. As far as getting that additional parking lot, if we can get it sooner the better, if this is gonna be done through the waterfront committee, we'll have to have some direction from them when we not, we'll just go ahead and do it.
We're gonna do it. We can't, they want parking. I think Councilor Wells has been to their committee meetings. He's got those same ideas. We can't, this is not a looking for advice anymore. We need to do what we need to
If
do.
the money's gonna come from
Their account, yeah. So
okay, we'll just do it.
we're just gonna have to do it. I'm sorry. I said no disrespect to the committee, but
The money came from
there's
us.
no back and forth here.
We put it in there. Okay, and other than that drop-off area that I thought of, and that extra spot off Crookshank where is a culvert, it would be a grassed area. It would have to be fenced or, blocked, so the cars, if they come in there, either you block that entranceway, not to let anybody in there, or you use it as an overflow. I don't know how often it would be used, but that could be an option. I think we block it for now, and then I guess, that might be an option, but it would have to be fenced in with a rope or something. I don't know if we want to put boulders there, if it's only gonna be used occasionally, but the rest of it, I think, is doable. Get that extra parking done as soon as ASAP, and get the boulders in and slam them down and get the signage. How long would it take to get signs made up?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we've already put a proof together. Our communications coordinator has already preemptively gotten some signage put together. So we can probably have it within the next few days. So we can probably have it by the weekend.
by the weekend. That'll be the key right there. Make sure we have the signage and it's clear and it's like, you know, just no parking. Whether you want to throw a fine in there for parking illegally, I would, and vehicles will be towed. I'm not even about to maybe get down the public relations road and give anybody a warning, just because it won't take long, to get the message across that we're serious about taking back our park and giving it to the people for recreational and walking. And maybe, in Councilor Lewis's point, we say no motorized vehicles, like, which would, I guess, cover golf carts. You know, no cars, no trucks, just no motorized vehicles. If the, you know, I'm sure they're using it for a shortcut to the golf course, right? Councilor Lewis, yeah, so, yeah, okay.
Golfers in theory can take, go down Crookshank Way. I mean, I don't like driving on the road, but I'm not sure about the legalities, but once they're on the road, they're on our property. I know that discussion's been ongoing for a long time. So what I'm hearing is, I got some questions and I have some check marks. So the green space we want to keep as best we can. Boulders are certainly one things that all council wants to deal with, and I know want. And since we have source, that's a good thing. We want to make sure the accessible spots are there. The angle parking, I think, is certainly can be done. Were they planning on going part way into the grass? I know there's a ditch there, but and to me,
Yes, we're the plan we got. We're Jeff's already told us what they had to do, so we had to infill the ditch, put the proper tile to join the tile that's going across to where you go on the dockside, and we're just getting enough. I think it's Mayor, maybe 3-4 feet of grass to get a vehicle parked on that angle, so people comes in. And I fully believe once those 2 parking lots are put in there, we gotta keep that parking for boat trailers, just that one spot where people come in, then the rest is overflow. Like I've been to hundreds of marinas all my life boating, and there's places you gotta walk, but in general, this area here we have ample parking for people that wants to use the park. So that parking there, you have someone that's gonna go there and walk across the parking lot to do a picnic. They have that parking, like I said, that other orange spot can be kept for whatever, but that orange, I'm dead against not having boats parked there. I think it's silly. With the additional parking, there's ample parking, and all the parking over by the Legion there for people that take a little wagon out, put their picnic in, and walk across the road and go to the thing. But as far as those ones right out front, I'm dead against taking them. And when they're full, I'm dead against have people like they were this weekend parking around on the grass, direct them to the overflow. But those parking spots there, they're deep enough that it doesn't affect anyone driving around there with the vehicle. Been there thousands of times. So, like everything else I'm good with, but as far as taking those, I leave them there. We're giving back the picnic area, now we're taking away from the boaters. Like, you gotta have a little, like with the extra parking, there's enough parking that those parking spots can be left for boaters, and the overflow can go to the rink, or, to take that away just for all that is silly, plain silly.
So fair enough, we would allow a certain amount of boaters in there, first come, first serve, right?
Yes.
I kind of disagree that there's enough space, because guys, the trailers have gotten a lot longer than they ever have, and I think that, there's not much opportunity to extend it without killing trees, but maybe there's opportunities in between trees to kind of go another meter or two, and even a meter is a lot, but trailers, like triaxle trailers and even tandems, there's a lot of space. Like I drove through there and you got I don't say you have to avoid everything, but it certainly, it's there. And, you know, I don't wanna take away, if we take it all away, as I've mentioned and others have mentioned, then those ones in the casual voters we have during the weekdays, they don't have to walk that far, and some of them will not like to walk that far, or their capabilities of walking that far aren't that great. You know, there's some seniors that still like voting, but they gotta walk from the Legion Arena. Mind, there's a whole pile of voters we have, and recreational voters that come from afar or come from here, that are out there fishing every day with, I don't know, I think 200,000 might cover most of it, but you know, there's some expensive stuff there. So there's some capabilities of working with them. The other idea I had that I'll throw on the table is since that's a U, any thoughts of making a one direction pathway? So you come in from the north, would be the east entrance, and that's the only way in, and you'd have to go out by the Lakeshore Drive entrance. And that way it would, your angle parking works better, because angle parking doesn't work well with directional, you know, that we see it in Iroquois. People come around this way, oh, I'm gonna angle park it in, and that's just not the right way of angle parking. Angle parking is designed, you're going in and you're going out the same kind of direction to make that work.
And in my design for that parking lot, the theory is when you're bringing a boat in, 98% of the boaters are gonna come in that west way, because you're going in, you're backing your boat in on the blind side. If you were trying to back your boat the other way, from the east back in, it's virtually impossible. So the idea about the parking is, the angle parking going that way was, I already got it on a site plan, was them to back out and follow the traffic around to the west. Because that's 98% of the boaters, you pull in, you're backing in on your good side. Boaters aren't gonna come from the west.
No, they come from the east, that's, you.
Yeah, oh yeah, come from the east and they back the boats in. And that's the way the angle parking is come, you would back out, then go to the west.
Yeah.
You wouldn't back out and go to the north. That's the way that parking is designed that way. It wasn't designed the other way, the angle's coming from.
So it's designed for a one-way traffic.
Yes.
So that's something we can think about too, is one-way traffic. It happens in a lot of places, you know, you don't go.
You just put a sign up, one way, the arrow goes.
Traffic would work better.
Yeah, I'm willing to give a couple of spots for the boat trailers, but to your point, I could barely get around this weekend. Like, you literally, the problem with where the dockside, the boat launch, and the picnic area are is you have 3 competing uses, and that's part of the problem. So you're gonna have now, I mean, everybody's worried about the kids. If you have the kids that are taking advantage of free ice cream cones and their parents park there, you've got kids and boat trailers and everything else. We still have to maybe put 2 spots or 2 or 3 spots for boat trailers during the week and to unload and stuff like that. But that parking lot, the dockside is the main attraction for ice cream and stuff when they have the lines up. And my other comment would be as well, the angled parking would have to be one way, because I'm not a fan of angled parking if your sight line is putting people at risk. And we see it all the time in the shopping mall and all that, where you're trying to back out and you got traffic coming and all this fun stuff. So the plan would have to definitely be so it can handle angled parking. And I think your one-way idea might really be a good way, but again, you've got competing uses. So worried about how the boat trailer's backing in, and then you got the potentially folks that are very good at backing up. So you have,
Most of them can, I know. But yeah, you know, if they come in from the east, then that one-way still works.
Yep.
The other thing, north parking lot, the north parking lot. I don't disagree with having it there, where the tree's supposed to go, or the tree's gonna be worked around.
The one tree to the north is staying. That Centap that belongs to
The Lions thing
Yeah.
is gonna send it down. The
Oh,
Lions.
yeah.
It can roll, it can move,
Yes,
if it had to.
so the one tree to the farthest one to the north that's right out in the middle, staying. It's not being moved. Well, it's the only tree. And I fully believe, once all that parking's in there and designed, you're gonna see the issues drop like big time. There'll be, like someone come from ice cream, they'll just go and park, because the other area there in the plan too was to put another patio thing for sitting, which is in the whole parking lot, and there's a little patio thing that's just gonna be, I think, just where the dockside is now, there's a tree there. They were gonna put it, yeah, if you take your arrow, that tree, and that's just south of the dockside there. South, right there, just a little bit to the right, they were gonna put a patio thing in there for people to sit there too.
So with the angled parking, would there be a driveway immediately behind the parking and then the roadway, or would it be roadway angled parking?
You would come in from the east side of America,
Yeah.
and you would start there, like say 10 feet over from the thing, and you would just start angle there. Then when you leave, you obviously look, you just back out the thing, and you go out that way. That's the way it was designed. It wasn't designed to come in the west way and do that, because it wouldn't work. Like, especially the way the boaters come. Like the boaters probably 100% of them come from the east, and you back your boat in, because if you try to go the other way, it's your blind side. It's just like backing the trailer or anything in. Like just common sense. And I know, like if you have that angle and then people pull in the other way there to make your parking lot for another 20 vehicles, you're gonna have at least close to 40 vehicles, and I can guarantee it, you'll see,
So
even at the busiest,
does the parking go up, like on the other side, is it like up on the other, like are we up top?
yeah,
Like
it's,
40 vehicles, okay, so that's why I asked if there was a driveway, because when you've got, under the people can check this, but I'm pretty sure under the HDA, you can't back up legally on a roadway. So there would have to be
well, we do
angled
over in
parking
the
and then
shopping center. That's a road.
well, like I said, not a fan of that angle, doesn't mean it's right.
No, whether it's a 90-degree parking, we're still backing out in the road,
But
there's
with
no
that,
law.
I think I would double check before you put it, so,
Well, you wouldn't be backing up into Lake Shore, you'd be backing up into the,
into like a
in the
driveway,
park,
right?
into the park,
Yeah.
into the roadway of the.
Okay, I'm just double checking, because the higher angle, like, when you're talking 40 vehicles, are you also talking the land above?
Yeah, that's all in
Yeah,
total.
Yeah,
space,
like the
what's
whole, yeah,
And you're gonna pull in there, the thing will be there, and they'll be parking on the angle, and there's enough room that you'll back out and you'll come out. You're not gonna back out on Lake Shore Drive, you're gonna back out and come right back down.
Yeah, cause your entrance would be somewhere near the current parking lot, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be there, and you see the one tree where it's in the middle of the green? We're trying to basically square that up. Like, you see that tree there?
Yeah.
We're trying to make it square, that we have enough room from that tree that you pull in like a thing, and you always turn to the right. So you're coming in, where the arrow is right now, that's where you go in, and you would turn. And you back out, and you drive back out. So basically that whole thing there becomes a parking lot. And you see where the patio is now, we're kind of moving that over to give more parking there, and that's gonna be put down on the south side of the south side of the roadway that's directly south of the dockside there now.
Okay, so it sounds like we need more parking. Is council fairly agreeable to do as the Morrisburg Waterfront Committee is already suggesting, Council Wells, and come up with that kind of extra parking, or?
Get her done.
so it's guaranteed 40 spots, that's what was measured out?
Well, I'll go and I got the paperwork, I'll remeasure it and I can send the email to let you know exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking 40 is helpful, 20 is kinda,
Well, even if we get 20.
It's better than nothing, like,
yeah,
Yeah.
And I think that by doing that and everything else, I think we got a concept plan here as far as Sir James and that, maybe down the road this year temporarily, like to put it so seniors can get out there. And maybe in a couple of years, if that diamond goes or something, then we can put something there. But as far as the rest of the rocks go and get the parking lots in and get those natural stone boulders in place, signage, and to Councillor Lewis about all those entranceway. Well, we can put the stones right across them, or we can eliminate them. Like you don't need. You say there's 9. I didn't realize there was 9. But even if there is, just have one that pertains to one entranceway. Then the rest can be, the stones can just keep going right across them. If you want, you can pull the culverts out and ditch where they are, but I would leave them there if it, for whatever reason you had to get in there down the road, at least the culverts are still in there. But we can take the rocks across at it, close it off, and you just keep one entrance that you can have a chain, or you can put a nice set of, like you can take your rocks and literally core drill and make a nice wrought iron fence. Like using the rock for your, like you wouldn't need a sonotube. You core drill the rock, you put your 4-inch tubing in, you make a nice fence or gates, and you close it.
You mean that's for the beach?
No, well, no, there's those other entrances.
Yeah, but the beaches and that, I would definitely think, and you can do that out of rocks or whatever to make a nice thing. But I fully believe, like 8 to 4, if we're going to run the beaches, they should be closed because
4 o'clock? Like I would not do 4 o'clock.
Or 8 to 6 or whatever.
Not like it's usually 9 to 9 or 8 to 9 or something like that. I don't know.
I don't care what hours that, like I don't, it's usually the lifeguards that do that.
Cool.
The current hours advertised are 8 to 8.
There you go. That's what you usually.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. But this way you won't have to worry about staff. We're moving stuff and the gates are the only way you could really fix it. And to make it look attractive, well, you can put like wrought iron gates and.
Yeah, your points are well taken, but we don't have time for wrought iron, so we need to have a temporary and then the next year solution.
Well, yeah, the curbs are working right now, but I'm just saying for the permanent solution for the gates. No, I fully agree with you.
Okay, so the ball diamond, we're gonna try to keep as green space for now. I think I sent, as much as it was overflow parking, I like Councillor Lewis's idea, once you pound it down too much and from a compaction point of view, you will totally destroy it. I imagine you already had to go through that in the past, so that's your experience. The parking lot east of the dockside, which is the big elephant in the room. I've heard both sides, so I think we either have it or we don't. I think, or we get the other option I threw on the table was still there, but if we're worried about safety or making a park, then in theory, if we have parking spots everywhere else, we don't need that. So, thoughts?
Do the deliveries and for the staff for the dockside, would they still have to access behind it?
We'd have to talk to them and make sure, but if they're just using it as a parking lot, then they're gonna have to use the parking lot elsewhere.
Because they would have deliveries and stuff. I don't know how their delivery. My mind is if they need it, then I guess I like the boulder idea. I also like the speed bump idea. In my mind, I'm okay closing it in. I just don't want people driving. I don't want it to be long enough that people can get in there, and we're gonna have the staff have to have access to the washroom as well. So there has to be a spot for people to turn around. They can't back up all the way out because you've got too many little kids running near that dockside. There has to be a happy medium. If we blocked it off, say the lines didn't require a thing, are you talking about blocking it off right?
On the east side.
You would almost want to block it off right where the driveway, like right down below where the pathway and stuff is. Because
if you allow, if you go past dockside people will take advantage of that and just drive wherever the heck.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We looked at kind of bouldering it in, so you have a spot, but I'm just saying if you're going to block it off completely, where that red truck is, would almost, before the walking path, would almost be where you'd have to put the barrier. Because that way people can turn around in the parking lot, as opposed to if we give them a little bit of a driveway, then you've got people reversing or accessing, right? Like any point, let me just stand up for a second, any point past, like this is my concern with this, any point past here, right? So if you put it here, then you've still got, then you're still in a situation where you have to boulder.
You would, yes. You would end up having boulder
Yeah.
a lot of stuff there.
I just don't want people back reversing, because I think that's dangerous with the kids gathering here for the ice cream, so you'd almost, the barrier would almost have to be there.
The only thing with that, Mayor, I know the dockside has deliveries from Cardinal Sun, wholesaler in Cornwall, and their back freezer is that second thing. I agree if you want to put the boulders where that truck is, but for their ice cream truck and that, which I've seen them go and deliver, they back in,
Yeah.
and they're about parallel with the last building on the east side.
So in my mind, if we give a little bit, then we'll just have to control it with boulders and make a little bit of tree access as the halfway point. Because anyway, in between those two is going to create problems.
Yes, Danielle.
If I could make a suggestion, Mr. Mayor, perhaps instead of using boulders there, in order for the dockside, as Councillor Wells explained, we do pull their deliveries into the back there. We could put an access gate there, and the dockside could have keys to when they need to utilize that for deliveries, and then staff can also do ball diamond maintenance through that access point as well. That's originally, I believe, what it was created for, was for Parks and Recreation staff to access the back there. So I just wanted to.
And the bathroom.
As well as the bathrooms. So if we install the gate, perhaps where Deputy Mayor Gardner was suggesting, perhaps that would be an easier way to control that and still allow access to the people who need access back there.
Not to be devil's advocate, but if you have somebody who has mobility and accessibility issues and requires a washroom and they can't walk, will that be a problem? Like the bathroom kind of throws a wrench into things.
They're not accessible right now.
No, but I mean, if people are, we saw an elderly lady that could obviously not have walked from the thing, but she needed to use the washroom, and her husband pulled up and dropped her off to use it. I don't know, not to be a devil's advocate, but will that be some of the concerns?
We need to keep in mind. Yes.
Yeah, like sort of where that red truck is, or just on the south side of that red truck, that's where I sort of thought we could have a drop off and pick up area. It's close enough to the bathroom, it's close enough to that shaded area, and would also provide access, I guess, for deliveries into the dockside. Just a spot, maybe 2 vehicles wide, wheelchair, have that as a drop off, like 5-minute parking for somebody to drop an elderly person off that, and then they can go back out and utilize one of the new parking spots. That way it would still allow people to access, to drop an elderly person off that maybe want to sit at the picnic tables underneath those trees. And it would allow us yet to, deliveries, and maybe, it wouldn't have to be bouldered off, fence, do something, to make, because Deputy Mayor Gardner's right. I mean, if you give them an inch, they'll wiggle in there somewhere. But, it may take an extra rock or two. You don't need big boulders, something to just take an oil pan in. I see it.
Well, we're gonna need rocks.
So some of us have plates underneath.
Okay.
Like rocks from the fence over. Getting back to you, Deputy Mayor. As far as backing out, and I like the idea Councilor Mellon has, like, for people handicapped to get there. So maybe put your rocks or your gate there just east of that truck and have your rocks go right across. Because the trucks it's going to be morely like a maintenance road more than like an access road for the municipality to get their stuff done, so put it right across, so handicapped go in there, drop them off, go to the bathroom, they can unload their vehicles, they can clean the thing, but put your stones right from the fence, right down through to the path, and have it so there's a walkway through both of them, and it pretty much sums it up.
After this weekend, I'll agree with whatever. We just have to do something. Like, I thought it was a good idea to keep, the tree area open for seniors and, accessible people, but now it's just a toss of the coin. You know, they're taking advantage of us, and, I don't like that. So, if you wanna put a gate up there, that's fine.
Okay. Well, it seems like we need to give some room by the dockside. You don't have this picture, do you?
Is that the first one we sent?
It's the last one. Yeah, the last one. So the picture that, what you call dockside Legion parking. This goes on a different angle.
Did it come by now?
Yeah. Shannon said it too. Okay, anyway, you suggested the boulders would go to about where that red truck was, so bring up that last picture again. Yeah, so they would land up going to where that red truck is, so.
So this one?
Yeah, that one,
Second.
yeah. The other one looks a little orangey. So if we make so people get, at least, if they go back there, there's enough, I think there's enough room to turn around.
Oh, yeah, there is right there.
And boulder off, you have to make sure that the south side of that path or roadway is all bouldered off. Because they come through there like nothing. They
straight across,
and, you know, and make enough, you know, people can't expect to drive to the front of the washroom. We get as close as we can and they're gonna have to walk the rest, you know. Eventually, we're gonna have to replace that if it's not accessible. You're not accessible washrooms there? It'll be fine.
Well, they're accessible inside, but you gotta get inside and get to it.
Okay, so anyway, so we're basically, the decision is we're gonna block off the roadway.
And I would make the closest parking spot definitely accessible. So whatever the closest parking spot ends up, or two, make them.
Yeah.
That's a good change. I think we're all pretty close on the same page.
Okay, the other things I wrote down is, well, extending that boat trailer a bit north if we could. And then there's more concern on the weekend than there's the weekdays. However, even on the weekdays, there seems to be enough people now that have time off to go fishing. It can be busy down there, certain, you know. There are certain parties that tend to come here every year, but they always park at the Legion. Whether they come this year or not, I don't know, but there's some people that have already self-respected our area and some haven't, so. Do you get a good feel of what council wants to do, and have you any questions?
I don't, so just for clarification, I'm just gonna put what
Yeah.
I wrote down just so everyone is on the same page. So I'll go ahead and get the boulders. If we need more boulders, I'm certain that we'll have access to them. You wanna keep the green space, so you wanna close off that back portion with an accessible gate where the red truck is currently, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. You are looking for the closest parking spots to be accessible, so we will work that out. You'd like us to move forward with the parking lot that was submitted by the Morrisburg Waterfront
Yes,
Committee.
I'm no longer on the committee, so
Okay.
you
So
would
we-
have to work out between
We got
Jeff
it
and.
minutes, we got it minutes and stuff, so.
So we'll
But
move,
I could help because I was one that actually originally laid everything out, so
Okay.
if Jeff needs a hand or something.
And some of that might be timing. You gotta remember, Jeff's got all his
Yeah, no.
work schedule done. He can't just do the parking lot, you know?
It might not be in the fall, so.
Well, yeah, but if, maybe there's, you can look at it, maybe there's ways we can kind of do it temporary.
It was all subbed out anyways. It was all priced to be subbed out.
Yeah, and I don't know, you know, contractors are busy, I can't, it's unbelievable how some, even our local guys are extremely busy.
Yeah.
Like, they're out every day, so I mean, it's a good thing, that keeps.
One more thing we should think about, all of us, is we have an issue with people camping.
Okay, but that's, okay, so Nicole, you wanna talk about that?
Well, they won't get in anymore, but you can actually walk and pitch a tent. Like, I'm not worrying about the people actually that the campers set up in that, but people that actually, cause there's our Loyalist Park too, up there was people that camped there this weekend, or last weekend.
So Justin and I and Andrew, we all patrolled Loyalist Park as well on the weekend. So there were tents, and you're gonna find tents throughout our parks. Those tents are used as sun shelters for children, and we cannot tell them that they can't.
No, I'm just saying,
We do
sure,
have
that's
some-
fine, 8 to 8.
Yeah.
But that tent's there from 8 at night to 8 in the morning, that's camping.
No, so Justin, on Saturday night, Justin went by at 11, and there was no one at Loyalist Park.
Well, they must've been there awful early then, next day set up, because.
So we are keeping.
And there was people camping here.
I know,
Yes.
but Nicole
Yeah,
and Nicole and her staff are well aware of it, and we're trying to limit, or we're
I'm not
trying to
saying you're
reduce
not.
down to nothing, there's certain,
Should we put up a sign?
yeah. It's a balance though, okay, because you got bikers coming down and they got their little pup tents and they just wanna stay somewhere overnight. You don't really wanna discourage that, but you also don't wanna, somebody just to plop her down, i.e. the example, the old army vehicle that you sent me, and believe it or not, it just went up the road and went to the point, that's where it landed up, right, the same day after they, you know, that's not our problem anymore, but people are creative, but I think, you know, we can't, we're not a full campsite, we have a full campsite that we can't operate. We're not just because the parks aren't operating, everybody else not operating, doesn't mean they can just come down here and pitch a tent and do whatever. I don't have a problem with those that are just coming through on cycles and stuff like that, because, you know, that's part of their experience, but we don't wanna be wide open and try and encourage it.
So there's a happy medium there that lets staff worry
But
about
to
it.
Nicole's point, the people that actually haven't had kids for a really long time need to understand that if you go to any of the beaches or whatever, they look like tents, but they're sun shelters because people are worried about their kids getting, so we had that conversation because I was kind of laughing.
You're not gonna let them stay out in the sun? I believe in that.
Anyway, there's creative solutions to sun, and I understand that from, you know, with having grandchildren now, you wanna keep them in the sun, like, not like the old days where all of us, well, except for maybe deputy mayor, where the sun was something we all needed to have, because that was just life. Some of us are paying the price. So, anyway, go on, sorry.
No, I just wanted to clarify that the signs that we're looking at making for the waterfront include a camping. So we are going to put some information about overnight camping on the sign. We thought that would be something that we should address as part of the signage, because there is an existing sign at the beaches, but there isn't necessarily any at the park, like the parking lot. So
The way I would leave it, like, I would leave it up to you guys, because like Mayor Bible said, like, if someone's coming in on a bike and they have a route that they're going Toronto, Montreal or something, and they set up a little thing, what are you gonna do at 9 o'clock? They're after just throw them out, but it's kind of, because I've had calls like from citizens saying, well, that camper or the tent's been there for 2 days. Well, that, like, I wouldn't, if there's a little guy setting up a little tent or whatever, I guess we gotta but leave it up to you guys to, if you've seen someone's driving by there and it's there for 2 days, well, obviously you're gonna tell them. So that's the only thing obviously you guys knew about it already, but I wanted to bring it back to your attention.
Okay, go on.
Oh,
Anything else?
I guess the last few things I just want to, where we'll be putting up signs in all of the parking lots that exist now, with some signage also at the waterfront directing people to the other parking lots that are available in the municipality. And then we're also going to, as discussed, I wrote down where everyone wants to see the boulders. So hopefully I have a pretty good grasp on that. We'll block off all the entrances along Canada Way there. Yeah, I think I have all the information. I don't think I have any other questions.
And you have it so it'll go 5 foot in between each rock?
So the individual that's delivering the boulders knows about the width that's required. So we may need more than 75 rocks, but they're aware of how to position them. Yeah.
Perfect. I think how you would start is that the ones that you have no choice but to put boulders, do so there. The ditches, you make it's optional. If we need more, that'll be the place where you be the last place you put them, I think. And you know, it's
And see if we can stockpile some down at the thing just in case we need some more, if we're getting them for nothing.
Yeah, I know, but there's no sense in bringing a whole pile down because they don't look pretty anymore. You know, we'd have to stockpile them down there and then we'd have to deal with them. I don't want to make it the overkill of the year. Like, let's do what we need to do, and then we can watch it, and if we need to do more, you can put more out. I think that's more reasonable. And in the end, if we think it's the greatest thing in sliced bread, we'll put her all out. You know, you mentioned about Athens having their part.
Oh yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, you know, they got probably all those stones for that, because Mr. Tackleberry.
Well, I realize
very easily.
We are getting them for this, we're just.
Yeah, but he got them there, put them there, and everything was zero.
If Les was still alive, he'd probably bring them down in a minute, so.
And he needed the quarry.
We did have a resident that said that they have 4 boulders on Smith's Road they'd be willing to.
So,
Yeah, the signage, Danielle, make sure, in my mind, the signage should be very specific along Crookshank Way and everywhere. No parking on, because if they can find a hole, they'll somebody with a Dodge truck will drive down through that ditch and get out of the field. So we don't want that. So, and are you gonna put, a fine on the no parking area? Are we gonna fine them?
what's our current fine if we put up no parking there?
Currently it's only $40, and if they're out of province, they don't have to pay, because they can just leave and
Yeah.
we have no avenue.
And understand, Councilor Mellon, we're in a situation where you can give anybody a ticket, but if they don't pay, there's no courts running yet that'd be hard on me. Like, the system is, and it's super backlogged, so
Don't worry about
I understand that. I know you're the one that'll charge somebody $2,000 if he throws a Tim Hortons cup out on Albert Road. And I sympathize with you, but we also have to be reasonable in how we can do things.
Okay, well, if we can't enforce a fine, then I can appreciate that because of provincial offenses, and I realize that, well, anybody that's an hour, 45 minutes from here from Quebec, will never get the money out. That's been a problem for years. But the towing.
Yeah.
I have no problem towing.
But they're not part of our bylaw, right? We don't have the authority to tow away vehicles.
We don't have the authority to tow.
We can have a sign installed that says if you stay, you're going to be towed, but we don't have official authority to tow.
It's not part of our bylaw, so you gotta keep in mind, there's no sense in putting stuff up that you're scare tactics, but people will figure it out eventually. I know that there's a certain tower in town that would just send all those vehicles there and be ready to roll, but we have to be reasonable about it.
Ever see the farmers spread the manure on?
Okay, never mind. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good. I think we got it under control.
No, I mean, I'm good. I think that if we're doing that parking lot, I don't know if you looked at signs that actually had a little map where to go, because if they're from out of, sometimes you just have to spell it out.
Well, the other thing is, those big P parking lot signs, maybe we need to invest in them, and this is where you park, this is where you park it.
Well,
and once people drive around and see them,
Yeah.
we can park here and feel comfortable.
I don't
And
know.
in the end, if they park along Canada Crookshank Way, if it's reasonable, it's not the end of the world.
Can we, Danielle, have you looked at the Legion parking lot to see if there would be anywhere where we could place a sign that when people are driving in to scope out the area, they see that it's beach/dock parking?
Yeah, I think what we could do is right along the roadway, we
Yeah.
could definitely put a big sign, and
That
then
would
maybe on the corners, we could look at just putting a simple, like a green P
Yeah,
saying.
that would be awesome.
the city thing, but that's all right, we're getting to that point.
I've
Council
talked
Rose,
to
any,
the city.
sorry,
No, that's good.
No, I think it's enough for today.
okay, so, I think we've come a long way. I think we're still being reasonable in what we got. Yes, we are gonna, there will be some griping, and that's okay. Because to be honest, those who were in big favor of allowing accessibility, and I had one person who called me about it, told me this morning, you gotta do what you gotta do. So that, you know, well, our residents have come to the conclusion, we need our green space back, and we've lost it. And I know there's a lot of people say we need to keep the outsiders out, but I don't think that's the right attitude either, because then we don't become a welcoming municipality, and those sour tastes last forever, you know? You get one parking ticket in one municipality, you won't be there for 10 years until you really, really need to have to go, because, you know, you got cheesed off. So, I think this is reasonable, so with that.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh, sorry.
can I just add two things?
Sorry.
As far as the boulders, any expected time when they would be delivered or when we can?
I believe we were trying to work out this week that they would be delivered and placed.
Okay.
We'll start with the big problem areas first, in case they don't get it all done, but I'm hoping that we can do it by the end of the week. That was my discussion I had with them.
The other thing that Nicole and I have been discussing on, and just for council too, is right now we're tapped out when it comes to bylaw enforcement, especially when they're working all week and then having to go on the weekend. So we've looked at possibly is trying to hire a police foundation student that can assist bylaw over the weekend. As council's aware, we didn't hire anybody in lifeguards, so we've got some money for summer students that we can go around. And something that we'll look at possibly is bringing back on an annual basis of hiring some police foundation students that can assist bylaw throughout the summer months. Give them a little bit of experience, allow staff to maybe have some supervisory experience. But I think it's a win-win, and we just can't expect staff to work. You know, if I look at Justin and Andrew and Nicole last week, you know, they worked Monday to Friday and then worked all weekend as well. We can't have that.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
So something that we'll be working on from an operational standpoint to make sure we have some additional bodies.
Yeah, if you will, you have to have certification to be a bylaw to enforce bylaw.
No, you just have to be
Yeah.
appointed by the municipality.
Okay, maybe we can look at out of rec or public works, anybody that maybe wanna, you know, take on some extra hours on the week, or, you know.
So, on Saturday late at night, I sent out some requests for help, and everyone's tapped out. Like, we don't have staff to maintain our regular hours and do overtime, so.
Understandable.
Right now, we're looking at other avenues for assistance. One of the avenues that Shannon thought of was hiring a security company to assist on weekends when we have the beaches closed. And I reached out to probably about 10 companies and got one response back with a quote. Quote is approximately $57 per hour.
That's a little higher than PPS.
And we do have interviews this week for one police foundation student and another student that would help out rec department.
If staff is tapped out, and I can fully appreciate that, and I realize that, so, well.
Once we get all our stuff in place, if we talk, it should work.
I just have a question. For the COVID-19 funding that we were allowed to charge back expenses, staffing is, if you call, so it is,
It
so
could be, yep.
did you get a quote for a paid duty officer?
So, yeah, we
Because
did.
they're not doing any of the overtime with the fairs and stuff,
So I
right?
reached out to our local BP detachment and they don't have any available bodies.
Okay, but the thing is, when you pay extra, the officers volunteer to take on. So it wouldn't be them assigning it, it would be the municipality paying the officers to do whatever. So if you could charge back, there are quite a few officers like that overtime. They do it at fairs and stuff. So if you have the Highland Games, for example, the province doesn't pay for the police officers to be there. The Highland Games pays for the officers to be there. probably 2/3 of it. So a paid duty officer might be, if you could recoup the funds. If it got bad, say after we put stuff in place.
Yeah, fair enough. I like your idea of hiring students that are wanting to be in
Yeah.
that field, so they've got some training. I don't disagree with your thoughts about hiring off-duty OPP, but they're not cheap.
No, they're not.
The biggest reason why Highland Games and fairs have to hire is their license.
Yeah, but for me, I'm trying to connect it to the COVID-19. If you were to connect it with the out of province visitors, which seems to be some of the thing, if you
We'll
could
connect everything we can to get whatever.
Yeah, and you're not hiring off, like, it's through the OPP, they're there with a cruiser and everything, but it's, you know, I think it's 90.
Yeah, what the plan was we could hire a bylaw student this year to offset or assist staff on the weekends. We wouldn't expect that student to go by themselves, it would still be partnered up somewhere. But it would allow, with that and maybe some little bit of overtime from bylaw to get through the weeks. We anticipate over the next couple of weeks, hopefully this will subside and we'll be kind of back to normal, but that bylaw student can assist in other avenues or weekends touring and all that kind of stuff. So.
Some folks are worried about the construction holiday in Quebec. So.
Yeah, so I think moving forward is looking at a bylaw officer on an annual basis, and we could get funding through, Canada Summer Jobs and stuff every year. I think it would be a good addition for that department.
Yeah. Be good.
That's all.
There's just one more serious safety concern at the Mooresburg waterfront. So on the weekends when we close the beach, everyone is taking it upon themselves to go on the rocky portion of the waterfront and swim. So is it council's opinion to keep that available, or are we wanting to have no swimming signs installed and have people out of that waterfront?
I know my answer, so.
Well, they shouldn't be swimming there. I think that, I'm wondering if, once things are put in place, and it's very clear when beaches are full and the parking is used up, if then we would look and see. I mean, I don't think the closure of the beaches was a social distancing reaction. It was just too crowded with COVID-19, right? So it's two separate conversations. But if we put things in place where there are controlled mechanisms, then the potential may be, open it up. You don't want people going where it's not safe.
No swimming,
Sign.
more than one.
Oh, yeah.
The beach is closed, beach is closed.
What about swimming on the rocks? You want to put signs? Don't forget.
Yeah, because they'll
If we have a sign and someone drowns, we have a defense. If they go in now.
Signs.
Signs. Like, that's the same
It needs
as,
to be signed.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's dangerous.
Sometimes
Like we're lucky there's no currents there, but it's
Sometimes
still
it's
dangerous.
more
Well, mostly
effective
rock
though,
throw.
instead of no swimming, it's more effective to put the danger
Danger.
on the side. Yeah, on the signs, right?
So I was cautioning people that were swimming because we had the beach closed, we could only enforce certain areas. I was cautioning them of the dangers and they had no concerns, even with young children under 4 years old.
But still, for the signage, for the half people that would be concerned, it's the danger, just, a little bit of it.
Even the swimming at the boat ramp too.
Boat ramp, we do have no swimming signs.
Yeah, or some of them on
It covers us. It does. And I know it sounds like we're just worried about liability. We are worried about them too. And we want to make sure people don't do silly things if we can kind of educate them not to.
Yeah.
You can only educate certain people to a certain point, and then it's on their own. I've done silly things in my life. I'm sure all of us have done silly things in our life and look back and wonder. There are times I wonder why I'm still here, but we're here. It wasn't your time yet, so.
but I would keep it down to like at the beginning where you start in your pathway, like something humongous, and one at the other end. So when people are walking
Danger,
down the
no swimming,
parkway,
dangerous
because once we have
waterfalls.
this solved, people are gonna be directed to start there, so have a little sign danger, no swimming, from here down the beach or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one other suggestion, Danielle, if you haven't got time to, if you run, like, the stone thing gets short time, Jeff's got those big concrete things to put, you can just for one weekend, put it like on the main entrances, and then you can deal with them after, at least you've done something. You know, I know it doesn't look pretty for one weekend, but it's more a time thing than, you know, if you put all those stones down, it takes a lot of time, and do it right, and
Yeah.
we're expecting that contractor and our staff to do a lot of work in a short period of time, so we have to be reasonable, and if they see a solution that works, like curbing, like Jeff has some curbing that we can put up, then just put it up.
Yep.
And, you know, if it doesn't, and I know it may not stop the Dodges of the world, that's okay to a point, but at least we've tried, and if they do go on it, and then the barrier says no parking after that, we have justification to at least give them a ticket, tell them to get the heck out. So, okay?
Very good.
Okay.
Read the motion now, Madam Clerk.
Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Deputy Mayor Gardner, that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas direct staff to proceed with the plan to make the Morseburg waterfront accessible for day use, and report to council once the plan has been implemented.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. So with that, I think we've accomplished something that we need to do. I hope our residents will accept most of what we did. We did it not for, there's no comfort or joy in what we had to do today. However, it's had to be done. And in the end, we can see how it all works, and certainly if things need to change, we always have that flexibility. Right now, we need to do what we have to do. So, and with that, I'd like to thank staff for their work in giving us information. I'd like to thank council for their ideas and input. I think we had a good session. And certainly, we hope that it works out in the short and long term. So, go ahead.
Moved by Councillor Mellon, second by Councillor Lewis, that council now adjourn to meet again at the call of the chair.
All heard the motion, those in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Till tonight.
Till tonight, we're on our WebEx feed for the planning meeting.
Do you need to